YouTube friends, it's Linda, and today I'm going to be doing my May wrap-up and my June TBR. I have injured myself, obviously, and I'm going to explain that now. I was out in the forest, and I was climbing a little hill in the Klamath National Forest, in the area that was burned last September about the same time, well, the same day that my house was burned. I wanted to show you how pretty it is. I don't know, I look at the green part, okay? There's all this green. See this? It's beautiful. The forest is coming back. So I wanted to get a picture of this little wildflower happening over here. Isn't that pretty? And I have a bit of curiosity about those white flowers that are blooming up there, so I'm going to climb this little hill. That's what's going to happen right now. Why are daisies growing up here? That is so cool. Well, they must have brought this dirt in from somebody's yard where they were growing daisies, because we sure have them here in the middle of the forest. Okay, enough of that. Let us now go talk someplace else about books. Someplace with quiet insects. So as I started coming down the hill, first I turned off the video. Unfortunately, I didn't have the video on when I fell because I think it would have been really helpful. I started going down the hill and everything was fine, and then all of a sudden I started going too fast, and then I was running, and then I did not stay upright, and the next thing I knew, I don't remember falling really, but the next thing I knew, I was on the ground, bleeding profusely from these wounds on my face. And I got blood on everything. My shirt, I didn't rip it though. I didn't rip my clothes, so that's a good thing. But my little cross got some blood on it even. My GoPro camera got blood on it. Anyhow, it was a big bloody mess. I got myself into my van. I got the blood to stop, and I drove myself home. And I got cleaned up, and I took a nap. I'm getting a little bit of a black eye underneath here now too. So, live and learn. Moving on, I did read a lot of books this last month, and I wanted to tell you about them. I read quite a few juvenile books. You know, I'm trying to read all the books on the Newbery medal list, both the medal winners and the Newbery honor books. So I did read one Newbery medal winner from 1942. It was called The Matchlock Gun, and I thought it was really strange. I kind of remember reading this when I was a kid too. It's a really strange little book because I don't think it would go well today for the publishing industry, but at that time the book was about a boy who was in a cabin and they were being attacked by Indians, and there was a big gun. I guess his father was gone for the day, so he got this big gun down, and his mother and him came up with some kind of a plot, and anyhow, and then he shot, well, maybe I shouldn't tell you the spoiler in case you want to read The Matchlock Gun, but I just did not understand why that ended up as a Newbery medal winner. Were they trying to say like this is the American legacy or something like that? This is what our ancestors went through? I don't know. It was not good, and it was not good for the Native Americans. Let's put it that way. But I read it. Actually, I didn't read the picture book. I audio read it because the audiobook was free over at audible.com for people who are subscribers. And, okay, interesting. Glad I didn't spend too much money on that. So I read some other books. I've been doing the Ramona series, and I only have 2 more books left to read. Maybe I should mention that in my TBR section of the video. This is more like the wrap-up for May. And so I read Ramona and Her Mother, and I read Ramona Quimby, age 8, which is significant because it is a Newbery honor book from 1982. So it fulfilled one of my goals. And then a couple of other honor books that I did read and finish were What Hearts, a 1993 honor book, We Dream of Space, a 2021 honor book. And so is A Wish in the Dark, a 2021 honor book. Those were both very, very good. I recommend those, even if you're not a kid. They're good books. There was some magical realism in A Wish in the Dark. It seemed to take place in Thailand. There was a Buddhist temple in there. Overall, I thought it was very imaginative and well done. And it is inspired by Les Miserables, so if you have read that, you would recognize the plot. Okay, what else did I read? I just finished Across 5 Aprils by Irene Hunt. That was about the Civil War. It was basically what a family went through during the Civil War, and I forgot to write down what year. That was an honor book. So, what else? That's it for the juvenile literature, I think. No, one more. Another one that I got from audible.com. It is a book that actually has pictures in it, and I did not have the pictures because it was an audio book. I was a little disappointed about that, but it's called Blizzard. It was about a large, huge blizzard in New York City back in the 1800s. So I read 4 books that were actually written for adults. The first one is a classic, A Separate Peace by John Knowles. I loved this book. It was about boys at a school, I guess a high school boarding house type of school, and in New Hampshire, and it was during World War II. I think it was 1942, so they were all anticipating being drafted when they graduated. I very much appreciated that book. And then after that, I was going to read for the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, which I am still doing. There was a prompt to read a book that was a crossover, representing more than one genre. So I was going to read Murmur of Bees. I DNF'd it. I just couldn't take it. It was an audiobook, and the narrator just droned on and on and on, and it was very reminiscent of a book I had read earlier in the year called 100 Years of Solitude. And I just didn't want to go through that again. I just didn't. So it was excessively long, and I couldn't like the main character because there was no backstory on him. He was a total mystery, so it was no fun. It got DNF'd. I sold it back to Audible. I'm very grateful for that. Another book that I DNF'd and sold back to Audible, I was reading also for the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge. We were supposed to read a book with an oxymoron in the title, and people were saying, oh, you can read Genuine Fraud, it's really good. So I tried it, and it was really bad. This girl, okay, first of all, it was written in reverse chronological order, so you get to know the end before you even start the rest of the book, so you know what's going to happen to her. But the more you learn about her as you go backwards in her life and learn about the things that she's been through, the more I learned I did not want to know anymore, and there was some awful violence in there. It was just not the kind of book that I would like to read. So that one also got DNF'd and sold back to Audible. Going back to what I actually did read. So I was going to read Murmur of Bees for a book that has more than one genre, and then I hated it and I DNF'd it. So I picked up another audiobook, Mother Night, which is by Kurt Vonnegut Jr. Really enjoyed that book. There was a little sexuality in there, but not much. And for the most part, it was just a classic Kurt Vonnegut Jr. World War II novel. Then I joined a group at Goodreads for Christian women, and they were reading a book called Hiding in the Light. And it was about a girl who was Muslim from Sri Lanka. It was a memoir. And she became a Christian, and this is what she went through. It was a really quick read. I found it very interesting and suspenseful. So glad that I read her story. And then the last one that I read, which was written for adults, and this is actually dear to my heart. I read Riding Blue Highways. Now, you might know Blue Highways is a very well-known travel memoir by William Least Heatmoon, and a few years ago he released this Riding Blue Highways that told more about his process of writing the book after he reached his home in Missouri after a long trip. And so I enjoyed it so much, and then I went to his Facebook page because I guess I liked it a long time ago, and I saw that he had posted something, and I mentioned that I had been reading Riding Blue Highways, and he actually wrote to me and thanked me for my comments. So I was thrilled about that because he is one of my favorite authors. So that was a highlight of my month. Now, other books I read, I did not get through. This one, I just didn't give it the time. I'd still like to finish reading the memoir, Mistaken Identity, a really sad story about girls that were in an accident. One lived, one died. I just didn't do it. I didn't read it. There were 2 read-alongs that I was taking part in. I am an abject failure. Dante, they've already finished to the end of Purgatorio, and I'm still in the Inferno. So this is not good. I'd like to get out of the Inferno. I really would. But I didn't give it enough time, and I really felt like I didn't have a lot of peace of mind this month for getting this kind of reading done. And the other one that I did not keep up with was the read-along for Mere Christianity. I have read some of it. I have not read all of it. So I'll continue reading those as time permits. This one is a Newbery honor book, and I don't know what year it was an honor book. It wasn't very long ago. Bomb. The Race to Build and Steal the World's Most Dangerous Weapon by Sheehan, Scheinken. Anyhow, I'm finding this very interesting, and I'm almost to the end of it now. A lot of history regarding the building of the atomic bomb during World War II, which, by the way, in case you didn't know, that was before I was alive. I wasn't born until the following decade, so I had nothing to do with the building of this horrible bomb. But it's really interesting to know what were the motivations of the people who were actually working on it. Why did they do that horrible thing to the world, you know? Makes you wonder. But this book pretty much explains it, and it's shocking in some ways because there was some spies that were not being very loyal to the United States. Very disturbing. I don't know yet what happened to them because I haven't read to the end of the book, but I'm getting there. I'm very close now. I've still been reading The World Rushed In, not as faithfully as I have in the past. I'm in chapter 10, and still enjoying it. So I'm going to keep reading that next month. Well, this month now. It's June. I ditched my other diet book and started reading Think Thin, Be Thin. I actually found this in the library in Idaho a long time ago, and then for years I tried to remember what was the name of that book. It was so good, because because I wanted to read the rest of it. I finally remembered the name and got my own copy. So, no longer a library book. Another book that I read during the month of May was a new song by Jan Karen, part of the Mitford series, and I'm going to continue with the Mitford read-along books during the coming month. Also, I started Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Doesn't seem too bad or objectionable, so I'm just going to keep reading it. I think it was written for a young adult audience, and so I'm reading that one on my Kindle, and so far kind of interesting. I'm not very far along in it yet though. And so this coming month in June, Angie at Literary Labors is hosting Pastoral June Read-Along. And there is a group read called Lark Rise to Candleford. I've never heard of it before, but I did get myself a copy, a Kindle copy. There's 3 prompts. The first prompt is to read something with a pastoral image on the cover. So I chose The Valley of Little Rivers, which was a gift from a friend. It's sort of a local book from Southern Oregon, actually. Looking forward to reading that one. And then the second prompt in Pastoral June is to read some book that's in a rural setting. So I chose, and I hope it's a rural setting, it looks like it from the cover, Incident at Hawks Hill. And the third one is to read a children's book. So I chose The Moor Child, which I do hope is also in a rural setting, because that was kind of the point of Pastoral June read-along. I also would like to read The Endless Step, which is a book that was sent to me by Erin. Thank you, Erin. And I would like to read The Yellow Wallpaper, which is a very short book. These are for another challenge that I'm doing at Goodreads, and one of the challenges was to read a book that was less than 100 pages, so I chose The Yellow Wallpaper. I've never read it before, and I've been wanting to. I just ordered a copy of Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers, because I have never read a Francine Rivers book before, and I've heard this is maybe her best book. It's very much recommended. It seems like some kind of a romance, and bonus, it takes place in California. So I'm really into California history, and I will be reading that, but I don't expect that I will be reading it quickly. Unless it's such a good book, I just can't put it down, which I've heard that could be the case. But it's also a thick book, so I'm probably not going to get through it this month, especially with all the other reading that I'm going to be doing. I've got 2 more books to read in the Ramona series. It's an 8-book series, so I'm pretty much very happy that I've come down to this. This is Ramona Forever, which is the one that I'm reading right now, and the next one is Ramona's World, and then I will be done with the Ramona series. I've already loaned out the first book in the series to the little 7-year-old girl that lives not too far from me, and she's enjoying reading that one at home. And, you know, when she gets done with that one, she can bring it back and get the next one in the series to read. So I think that covers everything that I'm planning to read for June. I'm going to be reading the next Mitford book, and seems like plenty. So thank you for coming along on this journey. Hopefully someday my face will heal and I can look semi-normal again. Talk to you in another video. Bye.